Folks, we are sitting here at a table with a lovely PokerStars.net logo at the PCA. I am Gary Wise.
Jason Senti.
And this is our guest. Now, he's some dude named Randy Lew. You've probably never heard of him by that name. But amongst online denizens, his name is whispered because he's actually the mighty Nanonoko. It's a big deal. You chuckle, but you really, the way online players talk about you, it is like you are incapable of losing a hand of poker ever. Have you ever lost a hand of poker?
Well, yes, I have lost a hand in poker, but I've also won a hand in poker too, so it does balance out.
Okay, see, poker comes around.
That's true,
right? So yeah, this is our first interview that we've done for the show. We're not sure yet if this is going to be our first episode or not, but it'll definitely be amongst the first couple. It's a real pleasure to have you here. I think we probably just want to start off by having you tell the folks out there a little bit more about yourself than Nanonoko.
Well, I live in California, and I actually recently bought a house, so I'm kind of getting more situated in the new home. I don't have my computer set up to play poker, so I've been doing more everyday life things, I suppose, kind of like just hanging out with my friends, helping me buy furniture and all that good stuff. So, besides poker, this is kind of like the biggest thing in my life currently, I suppose.
So you're introducing a little balance into your life.
Yep.
Is that a healthy thing for your results?
Well, I didn't have this much balance before, so we're going to find out soon.
Fair enough.
So is it by design that you haven't set up your computer yet? Is this just like you don't even want it set up so you feel like you have to grind so you can work on what you feel like you need to work on now, which is setting up your house?
I just got my house right before Christmas, so the PCA was not too long after, and there's some things I need to get done for the house, or I might not be living there, no electricity, no water, etc. So there's a lot of things I need to get done. So I didn't really have time to set up my computer. And actually, I don't even have a chair, so even if I did set up my computer, it wouldn't be too great. I'm not very great on the health-wise, so I don't exercise that much. So me standing and playing would hurt my legs.
It's funny that he says that he's having trouble with the exercise and so on. He's about 1/3 the size of the two hosts of the show.
It's pretty impressive. He's pretty much being squished in this shot right now.
Yeah, he's actually a 240-pound guy. He just looks small next to Jason and I. It's a sad state of affairs.
I'm hiding it under the table, all the gut.
Yeah, his legs are massive, massive. All right, let's get into your origins a little bit, because I don't know if people really know your story. I think they know the name, and they hold the name up here, but they don't know, that you are, as all poker players, a human being first, and that you had to go through a certain development process in order to get to where you are. How? Well, first of all, are you American by birth? Do you come from a game playing family? Like, how do you get started in game playing and eventually poker?
Well, I'm American. I was born here in the USA. My parents are from China. Okay, so that the simple stuff.
Do you shove pocket eights every time?
That's a little too strong.
Okay.
So I need more cards like Jack 5 of clubs or something like that.
Okay.
That's maybe my preference. But in terms of playing, I got into it in college. Some friends were playing, and I just was interested in game. I came from video gaming background, so I really was very competitive in the video gaming aspect. So this was another game to me, and I was very competitive. So I just kept on wanting to play, and my just kind of like love for competition just makes me keep on playing to get to where I am kind of today.
Which games were you playing?
Fighting games. Have you ever heard of Street Fighter?
Sure.
Yeah, those kind of games. I played Street Fighter, and there's like variations of the same game. So
now, see, this is kind of interesting to me, because a lot of poker players come from other games, but you hear like chess, you hear Gin, you hear Gammon, you hear Magic the Gathering or StarCraft, and they each help you kind of formulate a strategy that you bring to poker. I can only imagine what the strategy that Street Fighter brings to poker. Are you trying to basically beat the crap out of every person you sit down at the table across from?
That's actually kind of true now you say that. I don't know. I don't like to beat people to crap. I just like to beat people. I don't like to, physically hurt anyone. I'm a very nice guy, as you can tell. But in Street Fighter, you're playing one-on-one. So maybe, now that you mentioned that, I would think that I would like heads up a lot more. I do like heads up. Seems like it should be heads up specialist since it's a one-on-one thing. But unfortunately, I play 6 max. But yeah, I would say that because in Street Fighter, when you play someone, you lose to them, and you're playing a tournament, you know, you have to think about your loss the rest of the day.
Right.
So
Did you like when you played Street Fighter? Like, sorry to jump in here, but
no problem.
did you approach aspects of it in a similar way to the way you approach poker? Like, did you like know your opponents a little bit from watching them and know ways that you could exploit them? Like they relied on something too heavily and couldn't counter this very well, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, the biggest thing I took was just my competitive spirit and aspect. But to beat someone in, you know, a Street Fighter game or fighting games, you know, everyone has their own little strategy. So you try techniques that don't work, so you do adapt, and that's kind of one of the biggest things in poker is you need to adapt to your opponents, or you'll get left behind without knowing it.
Yep, absolutely.
I never adapted to my opponents in Street Fighter. I always got my ass kicked.
Well, I was still trying to remember, like, learn the moves, you know, it's because I didn't play it nearly enough. But I'm assuming that if you played it on a high level, that a lot of it would be like specifically exploiting, you know, what other players are doing, etc.
I pretty much just punched and kicked.
Yeah,
That was my entire. It's kind of like the way I play poker, really. You know, I had pretty much 2 moves in my entire reservoir, and that's all I had.
And guess all in and fold.
Yeah.
So my guess, I know as a poker player, that you know it can be frustrating, but it's a good thing for us that most people don't view poker as a very complex game, right? Most people think they can dive in because the rules are simple. It's a easy game to at least learn how to get into, especially with no limit hold'em. My guess is that whole nobody understanding how complicated it is thing was times like 1,000 with games that most people viewed as button mashers for you.
Yeah,
really in a Street Fighter, everybody just thought, oh, I'll beat them, and they're just hammering on buttons. And you're thinking so advanced and trying to do all this stuff. I bet that was pretty nuts compared to even poker, which most poker players can relate to.
I mean, like, every game looks very simple to play, but at the highest levels, you just can't imagine how much different skill level strategy there is out there. And poker is one of those games that, you know, it looks like a game where anyone can play, and anyone can play. That's a good thing about it.
Yep.
But the highest levels, you know, the best players usually you'll always come out on top in the long run.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so how do you make the transition from Street Fighter to poker? It's a question I've never actually asked anybody before. But seriously, obviously, you know, you mentioned that the competition, you know, being what it is, was a really attractive aspect to you, and I'm sure, you know, the money was a big deal. But did you start after you saw like a Chris Moneymaker on television? Like, what got you really curious about poker specifically?
Like I said, it was just kind of like because I had a small group of friends in college that we used to play little home games with, and I wanted to beat them, and I just really always wanted to be a winner, I guess. You know, I just not necessarily a winner. I just wanted to be the one that beats everyone. So
a winner.
Yeah, and I did watch Chris Moneymaker. ESPN. I think it was getting very popular at that time. You see Chris Moneymaker. I really want to get there. I really want to be the one that goes like this at the end, the gold bracelet and everything. That does bring me to a different point. On PokerStars, the Supernova Elite. Mm-hmm. I looked at it. I wasn't Supernova Elite yet. I was like, well, if you get Supernova Elite, you get these free packages, and one of them was a WSOP main event package. So that was kind of my drive to try and, obtain Supernova Elite.
Is that why you started playing a lot of tables?
Yeah, that's pretty much the main reason. It was like, because I didn't really want to pick out 10K somewhere and just drop it and lose the tournament. So this was like an incentive for me to try and get that and have that chance to be a main event champion, which a lot of people
that's awesome.
Desire.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to get into it. I was wondering what got you into being somebody who plays a lot of tables.
Yeah.
And did you start playing that many tables when you were playing pretty low stakes and have always grinded up playing 20 plus tables the whole time? Or did you eventually add that kind of stuff in?
Eventually I added that because before, I was playing more like, 4 tables max, I'd go up to 10, 20, 25, 50 with a smaller roll, etc. But then, I started to learn things as, you play, just getting more knowledgeable about the game, etc. And, the Supernova Elite was kind of a nice way to kind of grab me out of that and try to bring me into what I am today, just the multi-tabling, mass grinder, etc.
How many tables are you averaging in your sessions right now?
Well, right under 24.
Okay.
I tried to play 24 when I can, but occasionally I switch it, so it's going to be 23 point something.
Nice. How many hours a day do you play when you are on your, normal grind schedule? I know you're taking a little time off now, which is kind of sweet. But
yeah, I would say I play around 4 to 5 hours a day, I think. I mean, sometimes I add an extra session. My sessions tend to last about 3 to 4 hours, so I try to do like 2 sessions a day, and sometimes I add a third late night, etc. So on average, I would say 4 to 6. Yeah.
So what was the learning process? You know, some guys are book learners, some guys are just experienced guys. Did you approach it from an intellectual point of view, or did you really just dive in and start playing and learn from your beats?
My way to learn is experience. So, you know, I wasn't the guy that did his homework every day. You know, maybe I didn't do my homework in school, but let's not tell the teachers about that.
Okay. You know, you're 25. They can't get you anymore.
But yeah, I would kind of try strategies, and you know, I would see other players, you know, who I thought were good players. Like, well, let me try what they do, and I'll try and incorporate myself. And I felt like doing to learn was kind of like the best way for me to learn, to experience it. Whereas if you always did it on paper and you never really tried it out, you'll learn, but you won't get the same feeling as actually experienced. And that's just my opinion.
Did you eventually do the reading? Like, have you read Theory of Poker? Have you read Advanced Texas Hold'em for Advanced Players? Or?
Well, the thing is, I didn't know about, when I was getting better, I didn't know about all the internet strategy that was out there. So I didn't know about video websites. I didn't know about books, you know. So really, that was the best way for me to learn, was to just try it myself. And one of the things too is that nowadays too, I still try to learn. You know, it's a learning game. You just never really stop learning how to play No Limit.
Right.
And I play so many tables that I can experience the strategy much quicker than if I was one table. So.
Do you have time to process a lot of the things you're working on? Do you do, you know, even a short session review afterwards? I'm not saying go through every hand.
Yeah.
I don't think many people do that anyway, and for you to be basically impossible. But, like, do you know, mark maybe an Hold Manager or whatever program you use, do you mark hands that were big hands that you want to, like, go back and look at? Maybe not even big hands, but maybe where you took a line that you're experimenting with?
Actually, no, I've never really, like, checked, I never, like, wrote down, never really looked at my hand histories. The only time I look at my hand histories sometimes is, like, just to see what big pot I played yesterday or something.
You're not doing me any good here. I was waiting to hear that you work really, really hard at stuff like that, so that I will bring that back to my game, because I've kind of had a pretty similar approach to you, where I just don't review my play enough. I used to study a lot, but I don't now.
I mean, I don't think I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Of course not.
I mean, I think it's a good thing to actually study. I think I might be a much stronger player, actually, if I did that. I've just been doing it the way I think, and it's kind of been working out, so maybe if I hit like a big block or something, then I might do that or something.
Let me ask you this. When you have read stuff occasionally, I can tell you that my personal experience is when I dive into a subject without really studying, just by doing, when I finally read something, it kind of crystallizes certain thoughts that I kind of understood inherently but didn't really have formulated, you know, like it didn't really make it so you could like put it onto paper. When you've done that reading, has that allowed for that kind of crystallization?
Yeah, I think that definitely crystallized, because, you know, sometimes you know of certain concepts, especially, or like certain techniques, you know, while you're playing, and then when you read about it or someone's talking about a theory or similar, you're like, you know, I know what they're talking about, and now that someone can like kind of, you know, point A, point B, point C, and you can see it, you know, that's when you really learn the game, and, you know, learn other people's theories, etc. And it's really, it evolves the game, and that's a great thing for poker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like also the more you think about like actually learning, the more you quantify things in your head and like really break it into boxes when you do that kind of later, things you're talking about that you may know inherently, the more it allows for you to expand upon that and go further and further with it. So yeah, I think all that's good stuff. Do you watch any training videos and stuff now, or read any books now?
Do you watch Blue Fire Poker?
Oh, BlueFirePoker.com.
BlueFirePoker.com.
No, I meant more along the lines of, you mentioned that you didn't really do that on the way up, but how about now? Even if it's just to see how other people are thinking, in order to better take advantage of them or understand what they're doing.
As of recent, no, I haven't really watched any other videos. There was a time when I watched videos a lot. You know, when you first discover, you're like, whoa, this is pretty cool. I can see everyone play their hands, and wow, you play pocket aces like that. stuff like that. I did watch videos. I think Card Runners was the first one. That was the most popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely checked that out. I've checked out like the majority is a big site, so I did check out Blue Fire. It's a good site. Phil does a good job.
Phil is outstanding.
Yeah, and I checked out the Lego Deuces and all that. But actually, right now, I don't really watch anymore. Currently, I feel like my game's at I'm very content with my level of player. I still think I've improved. So maybe that's why I'm not watching as much, etc. But also, I take time to make videos on my own at my site, which is Poker New Strategy.
Poker New Strategy. Poker New Strategy.
Hey, we may be
like to help
competitors,
our
but we're all
guests.
friends, right?
Yeah, we're all friends. We wouldn't have you here if we weren't willing to let you promote a little bit.
But yeah, I do make videos for Poker New Strategy, just like you guys for Blue Fire Poker.
Yep.
And it's a good experience, actually, just making videos, You can probably relate to it. Just when you teach and just kind of talk about hands, you start to realize things you don't normally realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more of that crystallization process we talked about.
And, instead of me reading someone else's stuff, it's just me talking, speaking my thoughts. And especially for someone who doesn't do a lot of studying, it's, I've learned a lot about poker, just telling things that I know it in the back of my head, but now I can tell people.
It almost sounds like it's like playing chess against yourself and seeing new things through that process of opposing yourself and providing a different point of view.
I think making training videos or just coaching can actually benefit the person doing the coaching and making the videos as much as almost anybody else out there. So.
Yeah, and it's great to just evolve the game. Like everyone's just players who weren't so knowledgeable getting better, but as they get better, it doesn't mean the games are necessarily getting harder. You should be getting better too,
yeah,
and it's all relative.
Improving at a pace that is exceeding those everybody else who's improving. Now at a certain level, that is almost next to impossible because there's going to be a lot of diminishing returns with how much you can learn after a certain level.
Yeah.
Once everybody kind of gets compared to like when people had no idea what were even good starting hands to now. I mean, obviously that's different, but that actually makes me brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. So you're somebody who plays tons and tons of tables at varying stakes. From everything I've seen, 2-4 up to 100, 200, etc. So I would think that you probably have a pretty good idea as to the current climate of the games. Be able to gauge how things are. How much do you see things changing? Do you see you even maybe having to consider taking a different path from playing a ton of tables and maybe going to more live events, things like that, in order to continue to make the living you've become accustomed to? Or do you think the games are just great and keep grinding?
Like I said, the game has evolved. So yes, it's like yes and no. The games got harder because as the game evolved, I'm getting a lot better too. So I don't think that I have to start playing live games to just kind of make up for the lack of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I feel that they kind of settle with what they have sometimes.
Sure.
Like the Supernova League people who kind of break even, people always talk about them on forums, it's like they try to bash them and whatnot, but...
Which isn't necessarily bad.
It's not a bad thing at all.
Me,
but some of those people, I imagine, they're like, oh, I'm happy I got the Supernova League, got the rewards, but they don't try to improve necessarily. And that may eventually catch up to them. Whereas me, Supernova League was a nice reward, but I always tried to stay on top of the competition.
It sounds like there's always another goal for you.
Yeah,
and obviously, what your reputation is. You're somebody who crushes the games and is Supernova League.
Yeah.
A mass grinder and somebody who wins at a high clip. So yeah, I'm sure for you, you're working hard on your game.
Yeah, I don't, even though I don't do the actual homework, sometimes when I'm just driving or something, I think about poker. So it's not like I'm not thinking about poker when I'm not on the computer. And just thinking sometimes, I might be able to this one guy was giving me trouble today. What can I do? Okay, let me try this out, etc.
Yeah, even if you're not consciously, clicking through what am I thinking about poker right now, I know I've gone through periods where, it's almost all I think about. And I actually feel like I learn a lot or improve a lot during those periods. Even if you can't really, like you said, actually think, how am I going to beat this guy? If you're just thinking about the game nonstop, I'm sure a lot's going on.
As long as you keep your mind active on it, you just won't get left behind. And that's what I think is good.
Do you think the desire to ascend in stakes and continue to test yourself might be in part ego-driven? Do you have do you have any designs on, not only sponsorship, but pseudo stardom within the poker world, or really are you a bottom line kind of guy?
I think everyone wants to kind of go up in stakes just to kind of. Yeah, there's a point when you're like, well, if I was playing playing so high, everyone would be talking about me like, oh, I'm Thistledoor, playing 10 people heads up everywhere, you know what I mean? It crosses my mind, but, I'm very happy with what I do, just playing a lot of mid-stakes to 25, 50, that's my main game.
Right.
And I know a lot of people look up to me, to what I do, and they just, every time I'm walking around, people say, hey Randy, you're playing Nanonoko, you do a good job, just keep on doing what you do, and it kind of reinforces the point that, like, what I do is, I don't know if it's extraordinary not the right word, but, people look up to me, I'm doing something right.
They respect what you're doing.
They respect what I'm doing, and, that just kind of makes me want to keep on doing that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely my hero. With the sheer volume you put in, I think it is outstanding. I've never, ever put in high volume when I've played poker. And yeah, if I could find a way to even come close, or like close to half of the volume you put in, I'd be really, really happy with myself. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, because you are doing something right, and inspiring the rest of us. So
my hero is Gandhi.
Oh,
sorry.
He's a great guy too.
Yeah. Gandhi and Nanonoko. There you go. Good guys.
So the PCA, how's it been going out here?
PCA has been great. The main event, I busted day one, so that's not actually good. The bounty tournament, I entered the 5K bounty, which was a day or two ago.
Fun event.
Yeah, it was a fun event. I had Barry Greenstein and Scott Seaver at my table. Nice guys that wanted to take my chips, and they did take my chips, so that was unfortunate. But the tournament hasn't been so great. I only played those two events. There are some other events I was interested in playing, but the Bahamas is just such a beautiful place that
Is this your first time coming here?
No, it's my second time here.
And you're still taking advantage of everything
Yeah,
outside of the poker room.
Yeah, I brought my girlfriend with me, so we're just kind of going around the island and just doing local stuff and checking out the resort and all that good stuff.
Being that you're not a big reader and that you're not a big studier, I don't know exactly how into the whole forum community thing you are. Are you finding yourself gratified by the fact that this is kind of a reunion for that world? Or is that something that doesn't play into your social calendar that much?
What do you mean by that?
Well, PCA has kind of been recognized in the last few years as the place where the entire, amongst others, the 2+2 forums gathered, and everyone gets to see each other face to face for the first time, or for the one time of the year. Are you getting a chance to really spend some time with some people that you only get to chat with online otherwise?
Yeah. I didn't know it was actually like the one spot where everyone's kind of.
It's 18 and 19-year-olds can come here where they can't go anywhere else, and so
okay, I didn't know that. That's
it.
Good to know. Yeah, it's just good to see a lot of internet players and just speaking. I was like, hey, I'm Greggy online, I'm Victory or whatnot.
Right.
It's pretty cool to actually get to put a face to the name and just have a nice little chat. And as I go to more events, I start meeting more and more people. And eventually, instead of the avatars that they have online, I'm going to be able to put their
faces.
And
now,
that's really nice.
And that actually leads to an interesting question, because you've been transitioning into live play. Obviously online is your bread and butter, but now you're in this new world where obviously getting a look at a person is an important part of the game. When you get a look at those guys who are telling you their names, does that kind of give you an indicator as to who they more truly are, and therefore is that going to help your online game against those people?
I don't know if you can go that deep into it. I mean, maybe you're onto something. I'm going to take notes on that.
Like, if you think about it, if a guy talks all tough, you get a certain image of him at the online table. You think he's probably a certain kind of person. And if he shows up and ends up being that 98-pound internet kid, then that transforms who he is a little bit. It kind of changes maybe he's trying too hard to be that person. And I have to think that plays into your profiling a little bit, right?
I think he's going a little far with it.
I'm there's a new book coming out.
Yeah, I think it's a fun sounding topic, I think I feel.
I come from a live background, so for me, there's always been a lot of profiling. You look at a person, you try to figure out who they are, and you make some early plays at least based on that. And I would think that some of that translates to the online game.
I'm sure it's true. But one of the things I like to do is I don't like to make too many assumptions about a player just from they're from Oslo or wherever they're from. They're Asian, they're whatever. Because if you start making assumptions, and you might be able to get some false information to your game, and then say you make an assumption, you think, and then you see something, oh, it is true, and then it's stuck in the back of your head, right? But then it's actually not true. It's can really ruin your results against this player.
Right.
And I'd rather just go on a clean slate and pick up information that I gather, maybe play between me and him, and gain my reads that way. I think I just rather not be in the game.
So it's all pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
All right. No, hey, yours is more credible than mine when it comes to these things. So I have no problem with that.
No, I do actually think that I like the psychological aspect on a lot of poker stuff. So I definitely understand what you were driving at with that. But I think especially one thing when you're talking about the level that Randy's playing most of the time, with deep history because he plays so many hands against a lot of players. I was having a hard time seeing how knowing a little bit more about them personally could help there, with the exception of, maybe if you really wanted to start needling them online or something, if you can tell them they're obviously going to be hot at and play, get out their game. But I doubt that's the majority of your style.
Yeah.
It's
I would say what
heads.
you learn, maybe those aspects that you're saying for live, probably more important at the live table than transitioning to their online, persona, etc.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about, you're wearing this lovely PokerStars.net, and if we can get a close-up of that, Mr. PokerStars.net guy, that would be wonderful. Obviously, there was a time where being an online pro, a faceless dude, meant that you were not going to get sponsorship. It just wasn't going to happen. And obviously, PokerStars decided that it was important to start making transitions in that regard. Can you tell us about the process you went through to eventually become a part of the PokerStars team?
Well, I was among the 2+2 community, and I would, post on there, etc. And I think my popularity started getting recognized amongst PokerStars, and I played a lot on PokerStars. And I just really like playing on PokerStars. I didn't play it on any of the other websites like Full Tilt or whatnot. And becoming Supernova Elite and just the popularity amongst it just kind of made, I think PokerStars started to recognize that I was maybe becoming an internet figure and such like that. And, they created a team online, which is pretty new, about a little bit more than a year now.
Okay.
And I was, they had applications or whatnot for, Supernova players, etc. Just amongst a lot of players, PokerStars players. And I applied, which is kind of telling them my involvement in the community, and, just how much I like playing on the website, etc. And, the VIP manager at the time, they sent me an email saying like, congratulations, you're part of our new team online. You'll be announced, the first team online, first member, and it was a great honor just to finally be a part of Team PokerStars. Before I was actually a member of Team Online, I saw those players on PokerStars that were team members, and I was just like, man, it would be really great if I could be one of those one day. I think that's maybe a little bit back in my head. I just tried to, maybe that's one of the reasons why I wanted to become Supernova Elite 2. Maybe that was why I wanted to be that main event champion, all that stuff. And actually finally got to be, now that I am a part of Team PokerStars, like when I first was introduced into it, I was just so honored. It was just so great to I finally made it.
Sure.
So, I'm just glad and happy to try to bank some more tournaments. I haven't banked any tournament actually.
He cleans up enough in the cash games.
Yeah, he does okay. PokerStars has a certain reputation for making their pros work. There are some sites out there where you put on the badge, you sit down at the table, you play your hands per hour, and that's it. You're here with us because we contacted, the PR people at PokerStars and said we need a guest, and they said, oh well, we got Randy, and so obviously you're being asked to put some of your time aside from playing poker and doing the media stuff, how are you finding that experience and that part of being a sponsored player?
I think it's a good thing. Even if I wasn't a sponsored pro, I would still do these media things. Being able to connect with the poker community, that I know so many people are going to be watching this, it's just a great feeling. And, it's not a burden to me for poker stars asking, hey, can you want to do this video? It actually feels like an honor, are the PR people come to me, it's like, hey, you want to do this thing? I'm like, sure, I'm like right on top of it right away.
Right.
And, just being able to, I know people want to hear my story and, just kind of listen to me talk, and it's just satisfying that. It's a good feeling. It's kind of hard to explain in words, but
no, I think you did a pretty good job.
Well, that's good to hear.
You have any questions about his technical game that I probably couldn't get into that will make sense to our more advanced listeners?
Well, on the spot, the first question is, what do you want to tell us about your technical game that you think about? I don't know. What do you think about, how long did it take for you to get to a point where you felt like you could play 24 tables at a high level? Did you really step it up slowly after? I mean, you said before, you mentioned, you played 4 to 6 tables,
yeah,
it up, et cetera, and that's, the way I've spent most of my time. Now I tend to play a bit more than that.
Yeah.
But, at what point, you mentioned just one day going, hey, I want to do Supernova Elite. You didn't just dive right into 24 tables, and even if you did, there's no way you had success doing that right away, right?
Yeah.
How long was the process? How'd you go about doing it?
I would say that, first off, I didn't jump from 1 to 4 to 24 tables. I gradually added tables, from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and so on. The reason I did that was because it's really hard to just jump from 4 to 24.
For sure.
You just had to play, get experience and try to get used to it. So that's just what I did. And the great thing is, the lower amount of tables, it's easier to focus on a lot of hands. More in depth, whereas I'm playing 24 now, I can still focus, but it's in a different style. And it didn't, like you said, it didn't happen overnight. I'm not sure exactly how long it took me to get to that point to play 24 tables, but I definitely, right before before the year started, where they start the year to start collecting your VPPs, before then, maybe I'm imagining a couple months or something, I probably was starting my training, to get to that point.
So how much do you think? And now, I'll do this off with, obviously you think that playing more tables gives, is a better overall solution for you.
Yeah.
But how much do you think you are giving up, per table by playing lots of tables? It's a pretty standard question for a guy like you, but, I'd be happy to hear, what you think about it. Plus, you're the kind of the expert about all this now. You've become that guy, so anything you've got.
Let me see if I can brew up. No, I can't tell you exactly when I add 1 table, now I'm losing 0.2 big blinds, etc. But I would say that, yes, I am probably giving up something to focus, but you got to remember, there is a point when you're looking at your hourly rate too.
Of course.
And, while my most people, I would imagine, 1 tabling is going to be their highest win rate because they can focus most energy on it. But when you're playing more tables, even though your win rate will go down, you'll be able to, win more money, etc., win more big blinds. So
over time.
So I do. I probably do give up a little bit, but I kind of learned to play my tables together as one. So rather than thinking about it 24 separate games, I try to merge it all as one session. That way, I don't have to think about it in terms of, I add tables, I lose a big blind per table. Now I'm like, this is just my whole
especially
game together.
Because you're playing, I'm sure you're playing very often, 10 of the tables with, 3, 4, 5 of the same guys, right?
Yep, that's right.
So, it is just kind of one ongoing session against those individual players.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it isn't what's happened at this table, it's what have he and I done recently.
And, the more similar stakes you play, and like on Poker Stars, 3, 6, 5, 10 are kind of the same players playing, etc. So, you can kind of group it all the same stakes. Whereas if I was playing 1 table, 1 cent, 2 cent, and 5.10 and 25.50, I might have trouble following each player.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit crazy. It'd be fun to see. You do 8 tables of each of those and see how that goes. Do you end up shifting focus a lot to maybe a few specific tables, when you play cross stakes? You've got 4 or 5 25-50s going, but that's all that's running at the time, and then you're filling in with the rest.
Yeah.
You put most of your energy into those higher
I would
games?
say, I think it's just natural to put more energy in the game with the higher stakes, and
Sure.
plus at higher stakes, the opponents tend to be stronger. You know, there's more
So they're going to
experience.
require more energy.
Yeah,
right?
require more energy, more focus. So, you know, I've got my 2 30-inch monitors. I would put that, you know, more in the center, those tables more in the center, and the ones on the off screen. Doesn't mean I don't pay attention, but I do pay more attention to those bigger games, probably, I'd imagine.
Do you use Table Ninja, Hold'em Manager, all that kind of
I
stuff?
use Table Ninja
Yep.
to help me, you know, click the time bank button. That's
We'll have to get you a patch.
I didn't know Table Ninja has patches, but I also use Poker Tracker 3.
Okay.
And I heard great things about Hold'em Manager, just never really got into it.
Yeah, I have no real preference.
I really just needed to track my results, really. So,
Guys, they're about to start a tournament here, so I want to start wrapping this up.
no problem.
I want to do that through 3 steps. First of all, I want you to tell us everything that you are promoting. And then I have one important question for you and one exercise I want to take you through. So first of all, tell us everything that you are doing online right now and where people can find you on the internet or off the internet if they want to be following your goings-on.
Okay. Well, I hope when you said exercise, you didn't mean actual exercise.
No. You'll see. I think you'll like it.
All right, but yeah. So I have a blog. That's www.randylew.com. Last name Lew.
Okay.
That's where I blog. I try to blog a few times a week, and just talk about poker and my life. So if you just want to really follow my life, that's probably one of the best ways to do it.
Cool.
I have a Twitter,
Okay.
Randy_Lew. Those are like my dumb things that I say, you know, once in a while, but you can check that out. I also have
We gotta go fast.
I already have a strategy site.
Strategy site?
That's at pokernewsstrategy.com.
Okay.
That's where I make videos. And you can also follow me in forum posts, 2+2, and Poker School Online.
All right. And, of course, PokerStars, Team Pro, we don't ever want to forget them because, they're the reason that we're all here right now. Okay, the important question I wanted to ask you. What Street Fighter character?
Me?
Yes.
It changed, actually, but I would say Ryu right now.
Ryu. All right. Ryu. And finally, the exercise I wanted you to do for me. I want you with one hand to demonstrate your chart. I want to see your chart demonstrated with one hand, just like this. Show us what your chart looks like with that right hand right there.
Looks like this. And there has been a little bit this, but it's going to go like this.
Okay, good. All right, so a little bending of the fingers at the end there, but, in all, it's nice to have that part of the wrist in that direction.
Yeah.
Randy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. You've been chatty and talkative and opinionated, and it's been good. It's been very good for us. We appreciate it.
I'm glad you guys to just have honor let me be on your show and be welcome to come back if you guys want me someday.
Wow, he's getting ahead of himself. I'm a big deal. You should have me again. Jay, any last thoughts?
It would be awesome to have him again, to be honest. Yeah, it was a great interview. Good meeting you for sure. And thanks a lot for coming on, dude.
Thank you.
Nanonoko. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We'll have a name for the show eventually. As we record it, we don't have one yet, but we hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to doing a lot more. Good job, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, the 3-way handshake? This is going to be awkward and take a long time.
Nice.
It worked. It all got in.
Scene. Oh, nice.